In this presentation, I'll be talking to you about all the units and factors that make Canada the best country in which to live. I think that Canada is the best country in which to live for many positive reasons. In this presentation, you'll have a good understanding of what they are, so enjoy! In this unit, I'll be discussing with you immigration to our country, multiculturalism, our pull factors, and the Aboriginals who were the first settlers here in Canada. Now, in this unit, you will know the 7 landform regions that make up Canada and understand our country's preparation of natural disasters. In this unit, you're going to be able to know and explain briefly Canada's natural resources, major exports going on in Canada, the NAFTA agreement, our country's trading partners, and Canada's main industries. Finally, I will be able to explain to you Canada's urban and suburban sprawl, as well as saving land by farming in the city, and Canada's energy production such as solar panels on houses or hydroelectric dams.
Using Powtoon.
To begin with, I'll be talking to you about specific points regarding changing population and newcomers. Immigration. Canada has welcomed many immigrants into our country. Since then, in 1940s, Canada's immigrant intake was 25,000. Now, it rose to 275,000 immigrants. Therefore, the average intake for the past 23 years has been around 250,000. Canada allowing immigrants shows a welcome and a diverse future of our country. All in all, Canada welcomes different religions, races, and much more. For example, 11% of Canadians come from all over Africa, Egypt, Sudan, and more, while 60% come from Asia, including some of the Middle East, India, Pakistan, and much more. This displays the very multicultural ways of Canada. Another benefit of immigrants is what skills and talents they bring to Canada. Around 40% of Canadian immigrants have achieved a university degree. Also, other immigrants achieve a higher income of a Canadian in 2 years. This shows how bright they are, and if we continue and let immigrants in, they can help to stabilize our country and create the future of Canada. Next, multiculturalism. As stated before, Canada is a very diverse and a multicultural country. We have over 22 cultures in our country, as well as Canada is the greatest country to live in because it accepts newcomers from different parts of the world and doesn't discriminate but different types of people and instead treats them equally and with the same exact respect. Now, pull factors. There are many reasons why people would want to immigrate to Canada, and here are some examples. Free healthcare, excellent education system, democratic government, many job opportunities, multicultural diverse, meaning that all races are equal, everyone and anyone can vote, guaranteed by constitution and rights of rights and freedom, and lastly, safe and a peaceful country. In Canada, not only do we have all races living in this country, but we also have the Aboriginals, such as Indians, Métis, and Inuit. Now, going back into history, as known in the past, Canada has treated Aboriginals in very, very horrible conditions. For example, all Indian status Aboriginals are obligated to live on reserves, are very strict, like they would force the Aboriginals to practice full English culture and lose their mother language. They were also physically, emotionally, and were sexually abused. However, recently Canada has slowly been improving of how they are acting towards Aboriginals. For example, there are not very too long ago, people living in Canada bought 250,000 acres of land from the Mississaugas for about 10 shillings. Now, this area of land is worth billions and trillions of dollars. Therefore, in 2010, the government thought it was unfair for the Mississaugas and rewarded them with an additional of $145 million. This was known as the land claim. Therefore, now Aboriginals have the royal proclamation, meaning that they have hunting and fishing rights. Chiefs and councillors receive allowances for clothes and annual payment every 3 years. And finally, the Aboriginals are given the same benefits as a Canadian citizen. For example, child tax benefits, old age, security and employment insurance. All of these various pull factors reflect on why Canada is the greatest place to live in. These pull factors are what attract immigrants to settle here in our country. Next, I'll be talking to you about the interactions with the physical environment. In Canada, we have a bit of everything when it comes to climate and landforms. Being a country that has a taste of everything can be beneficial if someone wanted to experience all different types of weather and conditions. Well, this is another reason why Canada is the greatest place to live in. Firstly, I'll be introducing to you to our vegetation regions. Our regions consist of 8 mainly ones: Western Cordillera, Interior Plains, the Canadian Shield, Great Lakes, St. Lawrence Lowlands, Appalachians, Hudson Bay Lowlands, and the Inuit Mountains. In Canada, we have everything from snowy mountains to deserts, with continental weather conditions. This includes snowy winters and hot summers. Here are some examples of landforms in Canada that vary from each other. In the interior plains, this landform region can be found in Alberta, Saskatchewan, Northwest Territories, and Manitoba. This weather in this region is very flat, meaning that all they have is hot summers and cold winters, with treeless grasses and herbs. Now, next is the Great St. Lawrence Lowlands. This landform region is found in the southern part of Ontario and Quebec, as well as flat plains, small hills, and deep river valleys. They get a lot of soil, sand, and gravel. Therefore, this region has a lot of farming because it's rich in soil, and 50% of the Canadian population lives over there. All in all, most of Canada's landform regions provide its citizens with all its needs, which as stated before, makes Canada the best country to settle in. Last but not least, the natural disasters. Canada is the greatest country to live in partially because of natural disasters and how they do not occur at a high magnitude and rate, especially compared to other countries with high natural disaster magnitude such as Japan. An example would be a natural disaster that does not occur as often in Canada, which could be tsunamis. Canada and its waters are located inside the North American plate and in the coastline of the Western Canada, which lies in the border of the North American plate and the Pacific plate. Thus, if there was an earthquake, it would probably be in the western part of Canada, where there is one plate tectonic border. Although, it will definitely not be as devastating as a regular tsunami like the ones in Japan, because over there has been about 3 plate boundaries and Canada only contains 1, meaning that it will be unlikely for a tsunami or another natural disaster to occur here in Canada. Now this makes our country a safe environment for people to live in. On my third unit, I'll be talking to you about managing Canada's resources and industries. Another reason why Canada is the greatest place to live in because of our GDP and Canada's primary industries. In 2012, Canada's GDP rose to 1.821 trillion USD dollars. Now this shows how well our economy is succeeding by the help from NAFTA and other resources, which I'll be discussing later. In Canada, our top 2 exports are oil from Alberta and fresh water. We got our fresh water from glaciers from the north. Since water is very important to us humans, it's one of our largest exports. The other major export is the extraction process of oil in Alberta. Oil can be made into gas to fuel a car. Since our population growth is big, we needed to provide us gas. Now, let's talk about Canada's primary industries. Our primary industries make it a better country because it comes with many advantages, making Canada a great country to live in. Something that Canada's primary industries produce is many job opportunities. About 10% of jobs in Canada's sector are primary industries, which rounded off to around 800,000 jobs. Also, our primary industries supply Canada with many advantages, supplied by sources that come from natural resources. These extraction processes are oil sands, forestry, potassium and uranium, mining, hydropower, and much more. These sources are what build the backbone of Canada. And after coming the secondary industries, which is the process of making these products, which can be said as maybe construction sites and other examples too. And lastly, tertiary industries, which are the selling of these products, for example, services and much more. Lastly, for what we've all been waiting for, the NAFTA agreement, which benefited Canada in various ways, making Canada a great country to live in regarding its beautiful and high economy. Other things that NAFTA has done to Canada are to make it much easier to import products. Before NAFTA, there was traditionally no high tariffs between importing Mexico's agricultures and clothing. But now, our country can get all the agriculture and clothing for easier and cheaper prices. This duty-free agreement has also made our prices for the consumers much lower, which makes Canada a very useful country to live in because it will have cheaper prices on many times. NAFTA has also reduced our country's risk of getting into trouble with other countries, and even if that occurred, then both countries would have each other's back. Lastly, it impacted Canada and its partners by giving our country merchandise trade of $626.3 billion in 2008 and made our annual growth rate increase to 80%. But for the other countries like Mexico, it quadrupled, and for the US, it doubled. In fact, this agreement put Canada's trade and services in the job creation sector, which had created about 4.3 million jobs. It also happens to be that this agreement gave $17 trillion and made it the largest bloc in the world. Therefore, this agreement brought wealth and supplied people, which made better needs such as food and jobs, making Canada the best country in which to live. On my final unit, I'll be discussing with you about our awesome livable communities. The last reason why Canada is the greatest country to live in because it would have to do with our amazing livable communities that are sustaining the environment every day by doing certain projects, actions, and using different solutions. So to begin with, I'll be talking to you about agriculture, sustainable and renewable energy, coming with our environmentally friendly solutions. Agriculture. Agriculture is a very big sector in our lives. It provides us with the food we eat every day and gives many people different opportunities in jobs. Canada is said to be the 5th largest agriculture producing country in the world. Every province is known to specialize in their own way of agriculture. It helps people by employing Canadians, which is equivalent to 1 out of 8 jobs. All of these benefits are part of what makes Canada such a beautiful and a great country to live in. But that's not it. Canada is taking many actions and creating solutions that no other country would even think of or do. The biggest solution is sustainable energy. Sustainable energy in Canada is a very important factor, and many benefits come out of it, which is to protect our public health care and coming with much more. Renewable energy. Canada is the global leader of producing renewable energy, and now 16% of primary energy supply is renewable. Also, around 8 years ago, Canada has used 59% of its electricity from hydroelectricity, and from there has slowly increased its percentages every year. But that's not it. Our country is creating different solutions that would help sustain urban areas. These projects are farming in the city, saving land, energy production, and garbage disposal. Farming in the city. Farming in the city is just based on conserving land near the city. An example would be Montreal. Montreal, they started growing plants on roofs of their buildings. This is because it's easier to access sunlight and rain. By doing this, we can actually use it instead of paving over it. Along with some people don't have the money to go out and live in the suburbs, so they settle in urban areas. But to do this, they need to be provided with their needs. And to do this, Canada is supporting them and helping them out, such as providing them with farms on top of buildings. Now, the next one's going to be saving land. The best way that Canada conserves land in different urban cities is building upwards instead of expanding outwards. This process occurs in urban development. By expanding upwards, it saves much more land that could be used or is being used as farmland. Energy production. Canada is one of the countries that install solar panels on their buildings, houses, or farms. This is a logical solution and the best way to conserve energy while being environmentally friendly to our beautiful earth. In Canada, we also have many hydroelectric dams to create energy and provide efficient electricity to our consumers. Having all these statistics and solutions about Canada's usage of sustainable energy portrays the amazing country Canada and how we also should provide motivation to treat our land to the best of our abilities. Overall, Canada is the best country to live in because it's a very welcome and open country to anyone, no matter what. It has such a diverse environment, has a high economic rate, supports people's needs regarding agriculture and farming. It also has excellence in its primary industries, creates efficient solutions, and to conclude, our country gives opportunities and chances to people who need to follow their own dreams.